Ethan Walker was finishing a late meeting when his phone buzzed. It was nearly 9:30 p.m., and most of the office lights had gone out. He glanced down at the screen, expecting another email, but instead, it was a text. "Your wife gave birth. She's in the ICU. Can you come to the hospital right away?" Ethan froze. His heartbeat thudded in his ears. His wife. In the ICU? But that couldn't be right. His wife, Lena, wasn't pregnant. They had talked about starting a family one day, but between her demanding job as an architect and his travel schedule, they hadn't even started trying yet. The message came from an unknown number. His first thought was that it was a scam. But something about the wording, urgent, direct, oddly personal, made his chest tighten. He called the number. No answer. He tried again. Still nothing. Against his better judgment, Ethan grabbed his jacket and left the office, the words echoing in his mind. The hospital was quiet when he arrived, the kind of quiet that hums with tension. At the front desk, he gave his name. The nurse looked up. "Are you Mr. Walker?" "Yes," Ethan said cautiously. She nodded quickly. "Follow me, please." "She's in recovery." It was a difficult delivery. His stomach dropped. "Wait, there must be a mistake. My wife isn't pregnant." The nurse frowned. "Sir, she was admitted under your name. Mrs. Lena Walker. Please, this way." Ethan felt dizzy. Could this be some cruel joke? Or was Lena hiding something impossible? He followed the nurse down a sterile hallway, each step heavier than the last. When she opened the door to the ICU room, Ethan's breath caught. Lena was there, pale, fragile, her eyes closed, hooked up to monitors. Her hair was damp with sweat, her breathing shallow but steady. And beside her, in a small bassinet, was a baby. A newborn. Ethan's entire body went numb. He stepped closer, his voice barely a whisper. What is this?" The nurse placed a gentle hand on his arm. "She went into labor early. The baby's stable, but she lost a lot of blood. She's lucky to be alive." Ethan's mind was spinning. Labor. Blood. A baby. But it didn't make sense. He reached for Lena's hand, trembling. "Lena, please, wake up." Her eyelids fluttered open. When she saw him, tears filled her eyes. "Ethan," she whispered weakly. "Lena," he said, his voice breaking, "what's going on?" "You weren't pregnant." She tried to speak, but her lips quivered. I was going to tell you. Ethan swallowed hard. "You lied to me." Her tears fell silently. "I didn't know how. I didn't plan it. I thought I'd lost the baby months ago, but then I didn't." He stared at her, the pain and confusion tearing through him. "You thought you'd lost the baby, and you didn't tell me?" "I didn't want to give you hope," she whispered. "You were so focused on your work, and I didn't want you to worry. And when I realized the baby was still there, I thought I had time." Her voice broke completely. "But then, tonight, it happened so fast. I was alone. I called an ambulance. I didn't know if I'd make it." Ethan's anger melted into something else. Fear. The raw kind that lives deep in the bones. He looked at the baby, wrapped in a soft pink blanket, tiny and fragile. A little girl. His daughter. His knees nearly gave out. He sat beside Lena, holding her hand, trying to breathe through the whirlwind in his head. "Why didn't you trust me?" he asked softly. "I didn't want to disappoint you again," she said, tears spilling freely now. "You remember the miscarriage 2 years ago. I couldn't bear the thought of giving you more pain." Ethan remembered. The night she had cried for hours in his arms. The way he'd promised her they would be okay. He reached over and brushed her hair back gently. "You could have told me, Lena. We would have faced it together. You don't have to face pain alone." Her hand squeezed his weakly. "I know. I'm sorry. I just didn't know how to tell you something so uncertain." Hours later, as the night deepened, the baby stirred. Ethan stood and walked toward the bassinet. She was impossibly small, her eyes still closed, her hands tiny fists. He reached out hesitantly, placing a finger in her palm. She grasped it instinctively. Something inside him cracked open. She's beautiful, he whispered. Lena smiled faintly. You should name her. He thought for a moment. Grace, he said. Because she's a miracle. Lena's eyes softened. Grace Walker. That's perfect. Ethan nodded, unable to stop the tears. He sat beside his wife again, holding her hand while keeping his eyes on Grace. The anger was gone now. What remained was a deep ache, but also awe. Life had just handed him chaos and love in the same breath. The next morning, the doctor came in, saying Lena's condition was improving. She would recover with rest and care. Ethan stayed by her side the entire night, refusing to leave. When she drifted off to sleep, he whispered softly, You scared me, you know. Both of you. He glanced at Grace, sleeping peacefully, and smiled through his exhaustion. But maybe that's what life is, terrifying and beautiful at once. He realized then that forgiveness didn't erase pain, but it did open the door to healing. And he wanted healing more than anything. Weeks later, when Lena finally returned home, Ethan stood at the doorway, holding Grace in his arms. The house that once felt empty now echoed with new sounds, soft cries, laughter, and the quiet rhythm of life beginning again. He looked at Lena and said, Next time, promise me one thing. She smiled weakly. Anything. No more secrets, he said. Lena nodded. No more secrets. Ethan looked down at Grace and whispered, Welcome home, little one. And for the first time in a long while, the Walker home felt whole again. Not perfect, not easy, but whole.